What's cracking, sports fan? What?
Saber.
What's cracking, sports fans? Welcome to the ultimate pigskin paradise, where we dive deep into the heart-pounding action of NCAA and NFL football. I'm Drew of the RoundTable podcast, and we've got an electrifying season lined up for you all that's sure to fuel your football frenzy. Whether you bleed the colors of your favorite college team or you're a diehard NFL fanatic, this podcast is your touchdown destination for all things football. From the nail-biting rivalries under those college football stadium lights to the awe-inspiring Sunday showdowns on the NFL gridiron, we're here to break down the plays, analyze the strategies, and give you a front-row seat to the action. We'll be diving into the passion, the heart, and the soul of the game. Football isn't just a sport, and we're here to capture every pulse-pounding moment. Tune into the Round Table with Drew and Garrett every Tuesday and Friday evening live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Welcome to the Round Table. Greetings and good evening. Welcome to the inaugural episode of what is sure to be an electrifying, engaging, and informative exchange of thoughts, dialogue between two well-informed, well-engaged, well-versed students of the game of football. Bonsoir, comment ça va? Greetings to you all. My name is Drew, and I'm one of your co-hosts as we embark on this new journey called the Round Table, as we cover this upcoming football season for both the NCAA and the NFL. Before I introduce my co-host and bring my co-host onto the show, let me give you a little bit of background, peek behind the curtain, so to speak, as to what this podcast is all about. Again, welcome to the Roundtable Podcast, the 2023 edition, where I and my co-host, being astute students of the game of football for a vast majority of our lives, we're going to take an expert look at how the 2023 season is unfolding, how it is playing out both on the collegiate level as well as the NFL level. And we're going to give you our in-depth analysis, steeped in facts, spiced with a little bit of hometown flavor, hometown favoritism, or hometown skew, depending on which teams or which divisions or which level we're talking about. And we're going to do a deep dive into the game, both on the field and off the field. But we, as football fans, we all understand that football is not just a game. It's a business, right? And we're going to take the hard look at how football is managed both on the professional level and the collegiate level, as well as the high school level at times. All right, so we need to make sure that we put on our independent hats and do these analysis throughout the next 6 months, and do it with a level of interest, not only for our specific team, but for the love of the game. So enough of that jibber jabber. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for joining us as we go on this journey, and I am looking forward to not only interacting with each and every one of our viewers, but engaging with you in real time. All right. And throughout the life of this podcast, we're going to be able to interact with our viewers in real time by you joining the live chat where we are being pushed on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Not tonight. Tonight's episode is only being published on or pushed on Facebook Live. So if you join the chat via the Facebook Live link, you will be able to interact with myself and my co-hosts as we go over the 2023 predictions, opening weekend for the college football season, and take a look at each one of those divisions in the NFL and see who is going to be on top when it comes to season's end. With all of that out of the way, let me welcome my co-host to the show. He is not only a very astute, knowledgeable, and experienced football analyst, but he's a true professional. I've known this fine gentleman for 20 plus years, and I am proud to not only call him my friend, but he is my brother from another mother. Griff, I turn the mic over to you, and welcome to the Roundtable.
Are you ready for some football? Well, then come join me and my brother Drew at the RoundTable podcast, where we're going to talk all things football every Tuesday and Friday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, all season long. Whether it's the NCAA or the NFL, we're going to have the conversation. We're going to address all the hot topics, as well as give our picks for the upcoming week's games. Be on the lookout for the RoundTable podcast with Drew and Griff, where we'll be streaming live from YouTube and Facebook Live. Also, subscribe to the RoundTable podcast where you listen to your favorite podcast.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Drew, man, look, I am so happy to be here today. I just want to thank my brother Drew for inviting me to be on this. Hey, you know me, I'm here to have fun. I'm here to talk about football. Y'all already see who my team is. It ain't no secret to it, but I'm definitely gonna make sure that I be impartial when I'm having these conversations, and I'm gonna keep real. I'm gonna beat my team up, but really, I'm just glad to be able here to chop it up with my brother, to talk all things football, NCAA, NFL. We're not just gonna just talk football, but we're gonna talk topics as well. So, Drew, I don't want to do no more talking. I want to get to it because this is the moment I've been waiting for all year. You know, baseball season, basketball season, man, I feel like a vampire and suck blood out of me. But when football come around, brother, it's like a natural high, and I'm ready to go.
Man, that is an awesome introduction, and again, welcome to you, Griff. I look forward to us engaging in in-depth dialogue over the next several months as this season unfolds. It is going to be an exciting football season for both the collegiate football players as well as the NFL football players. Forget the organizations, forget the teams, forget all of the hoopla. It's for the individual players themselves that you think that this particular year is going to be a banner year for a lot of them, right? So with so much to talk about, so much has happened between January, February, depending on which sport you're a student of, and today, right? We've had 200 plus days of off-season moves, whether it's in the collegiate level or in the NFL level, and a lot of new faces are in a lot of new places, whether you are wearing the uniform or whether you're wearing the headsets. And we're going to dive deep into that and see where teams got it right and where teams got it wrong. But I always like to begin where we have a foundation. I mentioned in the opening that you and I have both been fans and students of the game for a majority of our lives. And every single person who is a fan of football has their favorites, whether you are a high school football fan, you know, depending on where you live, Texas, where high school football is king, you know, and it rivals even on Sundays with the Cowboys. Or you are a lover of the collegiate level and you are a diehard, whatever my favorite college team is, whether I'm an alumnus or I'm just a fan of that particular school for whatever the reason, and I bleed whatever those school colors are. Or you are a NFL all about the Super Bowl, and this is my sport. My mood for the week depends on how my team does on Thursday, Sunday, or Monday. If you're, that NFL person, so I am really looking forward to this, brother. And where do we start? We start where my passion lies, right? I have been a fan, like I said, for 40 plus years, but I have always loved college football above everything else. It is just so exciting to me because it encapsulates an entire state sometimes, an entire region sometimes, depending on what team you're cheering for. And those college teams not only are confined to the state to which they reside, but it travels like the Alabama Crimson Tide. Their fan base is large and they are in great numbers, and their zip codes are here, there, and everywhere. So having the conversation for this upcoming season start with the college football landscape and how the Power Five conferences have traditionally dominated bowl season, right? Prior to the college football playoffs, the evolution of the game. How are we, as college football fans, college football critics, and college football students, taking the business aspect into consideration and knowing that this is a billion-dollar entity, how are we going to swallow this conference realignment where the Power Five is no longer the Power Five? You have, teams that reside in California are joining the ACC. Last time I checked, the Atlantic Coast Conference was on the East Coast, not the left coast. But, we follow the money. So how do you think, Griff, the realignment of these Power Five conferences, where you are creating super conferences in an attempt to come after the one true conference, we'll get into that later, in an attempt to come after the one true conference to make this more competitive in January when we are playing for national championships? And we'll talk about the playoffs later and the expansion of the playoffs and how that is going, but the direction that is going in. But how do you think this is going to affect those mid-level conferences where you have this Power Five realignment and teams are basically just, or schools, I take that back, not teams, schools are just jumping ship after spending 30, 40, 50 years in one particular conference, jumping to a next? What do you think?
Hey man, I think change is good. I'm just gonna be real. Mute the mic. And really only one conference should change, and that's the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is got 4 teams left in it right now. But and you're right, and I'm gonna call it like it is. They all trying to combine to compete against the SEC. We already know who they dominated for probably the last almost the last 2 decades. It's basically been the SEC, and that's okay. I think that it's gonna give some other teams some opportunities to show that they play a stronger schedule. I like the fact that some of these teams that went over there. Now Clemson, with you adding some of these teams to the ACC and adding some of these teams to the Big Ten, guess what? It's going to be a little bit more competition. I'm not here to beat nobody up, but only 2 teams that really play each other in the Big Ten is who? Michigan and Ohio State. The rest of their schedule is pretty much easy. Now you start throwing some of these other teams in there, got it. Same thing. Clemson been dominating the ACC. Now you're going to put some other teams from those conferences, from the Pac-12 into those conferences. I think it's going to be good. And like I said, don't want to get off into the new playoff system, because when the new playoff system come around, then people are going to be upset about that. And, we had a conversation last night, and it does go into effect for the 24-25 season where, it's going to be a 12 team playoff. So that's how I feel about it, Drew. You're right. The money thing, teams trying to make that money, they trying to get that, and I see that. But, I think change is good. I turn it back over to you, Drew.
Okay, and I can feel you on that. Change is inevitable first, right? Change is not always good in my opinion, but change is inevitable and evolution is good. So in that sense, you are correct. I'm just a little fugazi on, USC joining the ACC or USC. Well, I can understand USC possibly joining the Big 12, but USC joining the Pac or the Big 10. The games are already being played. You don't have to realign yourself, in my opinion, with another conference just to get more credibility.
Yeah.
Your out of conference schedule dictates that. All right. Perfect segue. Out of conference schedule. All right. The college football season starts this weekend. Jordan, and also for everyone, when you hear us refer to Jordan, that is our production manager, our producer, and he's the third member of this trio to make this thing possible for you guys. So you'll be hearing us refer to Jordan a lot. He's just off camera. So Jordan, can you bring up the preseason rankings for the college football season? Now, looking at the top 25, just off of what you see there, you have 6 teams in the SEC this year. All right. And if you take 2024's teams into consideration, you have 7 teams out of the SEC in the preseason polls. And as you are going to hear far more than just tonight, the SEC teams beat up on each other, as Griff has already mentioned. And they are the cream of the crop in college football right now. For the past 2 decades, with the SEC winning, if I'm not mistaken, 15 out of the last 20 to 25 national championships. So that's dominance. So I understand the realignment, right? And how do you improve your team? By playing a stronger non-conference schedule. Leading into this weekend's inaugural games or opening weekend games, we'll start off right on top with my almighty Tigers, which, we got this in the bag, going up against a formidable opponent this weekend, the 8th ranked Florida State Seminoles, right? This is a back-to-back of a home and home, so to speak, between LSU and FSU open up their seasons. They played each other last year in the season opener. And with LSU having a new coach in Chip Kelly, a new quarterback in Jaden Daniels, a new system, new coaching staff, both on the offensive side, the defensive side, and in the special teams, which killed them in that game. They ended up losing in a last-second thriller where they came back and attempted to score a 2-point conversion at the very end of the game, but it was unsuccessful. But what you took out of that game for both LSU and FSU was that the season is long. We, as these 2 teams competing, have the talent to compete, and we have to really get on our game because our schedule does not get any easier, right? Because in-conference play is always tough regardless of the conference that you're in. And Florida State being ranked 8th in its preseason poll, or 7, depending on which poll you're looking at. LSU ranked 5th or 4th, depending on which poll you're looking at. This early season matchup between these 2 teams this weekend on Sunday night on ABC at 7:30 is a telltale sign as to whether or not either one of these teams or both of these teams are going to be legitimate national championship contenders right out of the gate. Because iron sharpens iron. And if you are able to come out of this game for both teams, regardless of which team wins, feeling good about where you are, then you're going into conference play with a level of confidence that you would not have. You would still have questions unanswered. I'm not going to even talk about the stars on the defensive side or the offensive side for both teams, but both teams should feel good, and this is going to be an exciting game. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think LSU gonna win the game. I'm a diehard SEC fan. It was Chip. It was Brian Kelly's first year with LSU, so I think he got those boys on track. I think it's gonna be a good game. What's really gonna determine is whether or not it's a close game. If it's a blowout, it's gonna change the whole setup. But if the game is close, neither one of them really hurting themselves. And when it comes down for the committee to look back, those type of games do help. But that's another reason why I think teams trying to align in some of these conferences. Also, the reason why the Pac-12 really self-destructed, to be honest, is because of, trying to get TV time. Don't nobody want to stay up late at night to watch those games. And the USCs of the world, the reason why some of they players, and that football ain't going to stay up there, because I know when they play Alabama, it's going to get knocked off anyway. But the reason why a lot of those teams left too is to make money. Like you said, by coming out to the ACC, they know they're gonna get more playing time. They're gonna get more exposure. Their players gonna get more exposure. The Pac-12 for many years, a lot of people don't know what's going on in Pac-12 because by the time their games come on, most of us sleep. So the only people that really know about them is out there. So the alignment need to happen. But remember, there was a time that we didn't have a SEC championship game. And everybody was all upset about that and said it was going to hurt the SEC's opportunity. But what it did was when we went to the East and the West, it actually made our conference even stronger. So I think the change is going to be good. I'm looking forward to the season. But you talked about Florida State and LSU. But let's talk about that game that's going on tonight, which actually is on right now, and that's Florida and Utah. That game going to be major. And I don't know if you know this, but the Utah quarterback is not starting. So that changed the whole dynamics of what, because everybody was looking for Utah to, I think I seen some even say 14 points. But I think Florida might be able to pull that thing out. What you think on that, Drew?
No, you're absolutely correct, bro. This was one of those games that you needed to keep an eye on, right? Simply because the credibility that Florida brings, regardless of whether or not they're ranked, the legacy that they have, the type of program that they have, the speed that they always have, regardless of whether or not they are the top of the SEC East or they're struggling, depending on the year, Florida always brings that wood. So them going up against Utah right out of the gate, who is also a powerhouse from the Pac-12, is definitely one of those games that is going to be an early sign as to whether or not necessarily for Florida. It's not really a big statement game for Florida to me. It is a statement game for Utah, right? Because if Utah is not, even though they're favorite and they're ranked and Florida is not, if Utah is able to win tonight and win in a fashion to where it was a legitimate win in the eyes of most sports fans, it legitimizes them very early in the season as a strong Pac-12 front runner along with USC. Florida, it will let the rest of the conference know, our conference, the SEC conference know, that if they win this game tonight, that they are going to be someone to contend with in the East. So Georgia will not have a easy walk to the SEC championship as everyone is predicting coming out of the East, right? Because you have some formidable opponents in the East this year. So this is to me, it's more of a statement game for Utah than it is for Florida. But I'm looking forward to the second half of it.
Yeah, don't get them bull. You got a lot of Bulldog fans watching us right now. Don't get them upset, man, talking about their team. So let's talk about the game that I'm really looking forward to seeing. The premier Coach Prime, that Colorado and TCU game. Now, again, TCU is picked in favor to win that game, but this is the moment that a lot of sports fans been waiting for. We've seen what Coach Prime did down there in Mississippi, and then he took his talents to Colorado. It's been a lot of talk about Coach Prime during the offseason as far as, the turnaround, all these players to move. He brought his luggage. He told him it's time to go. But, that's the type of coaching that we grew up on, that old school look. Yeah, you come, hey, you're going to earn your position on here. Just because you got a scholarship don't mean that you're going to be playing at this team or whatever. So of all the games this weekend, even though I think Colorado still got about 2 years, I personally think maybe 2 years, I'm still looking forward to this game. And I think it's not going to be an easy win for TCU as a lot of people think it is.
No, you're right. It's definitely not going to be an easy game for TCU. And this is going to be the second most exciting game of the weekend because obviously the LSU, FSU, Go Tigers game is going to be the most exciting. A lot of the hype around prime time is legitimate hype because prime time is prime time for a reason. He did do what he did at Jackson State University. They went undefeated. He did win a lot of games down there in a little short amount of time that he was there. And 83 new players on the Colorado Buffaloes team. 83. And I know we did not mention this in the opening when we talked about the changing landscape of college football, but when you are able to transfer from college A to college B and not have to sit out a year, when you're in that transfer portal, and you have NIL deals where you are legitimately creating currency for yourself as a college athlete, you're not tied to that one school. And Prime had 53 or 54 transfers into that portal. And these are 3, 4, and 5-star athletes coming out of high school. So we're talking top ranked players on the ESPN 300, whatever scale, right? So these are not scrubs that are transferring. Prime is getting a squad together. And you are correct, it's going to take a couple of years. And a lot of the prognosticators have Colorado winning 3, 4 games if they are lucky. They are going to struggle in the first half of the season. They're going up against TCU. In case everybody forgot, they did play Georgia in the national championship. They got blown out, but they were there. They did make it to that natty. So they are a very, very good team. And I understand they're ranked 17th, but again, preseason ranking. So take that with a grain of salt.
And you
Whether
know,
or not, the question is, I want to see Prime Jr. and how he manages that offense.
Yes.
And whether or not he can actually have an impact early in the season.
I think he's gonna be okay, Drew. The other thing is, Mike. The other thing is that we talked about the new face of college football, but let's talk about what Prime did for HBCUs too. He changed the landscape down there. As much as they don't want to give him credit for it, but you see a lot of HBCU games on TV right now, and I'm talking on prime time and stuff, and that's because of him. So I just wanted to put that out there. Then the last game that I think college-wise that's going to have an impact this week is the North Carolina-South Carolina game. Again, some people say, hey, it's North Carolina, South Carolina, but you got Spencer Rattler over there, the guy that was, supposed to be that, that Heisman Trophy guy that actually came on real hard at the end of last season for South Carolina. And then you got Mac Brown and his squad with that quarterback, I think his name is May, for North Carolina. They only giving North Carolina about two points in that game. So it's basically even. But me, when the game that close and it's even, again, me being partial to the SEC, I'm always going to lean that way until they come and play Alabama. So what's your take on that?
The Gamecocks against the Tar Heels. Backyard struggle. Right now, it's not really a backyard rivalry game because if it really was, they wouldn't be opening the season with us. But it is a very good next door neighbor game. So you are correct. I am just SEC through and through. So I'm always going to lean SEC when these teams are playing intra-conference games, even though it doesn't always work that way because, during the season, some Big Ten schools, some ACC schools, they bring that wood. So this is definitely going to be an exciting game. And you are right. Mac Brown does have a tendency to have a hit year and then a miss year and then another hit year where everything is clicking for whatever team that he is coaching. And you simply don't know until that season begins and you get to see what product is on the field from the Tar Heels. So until that happens, and I would say that this is going to be a close game, but by halftime of that game, I believe we will see the strength and the endurance that the SEC teams, in this case, the Gamecocks have, and they should be able to pull this off in a late fourth quarter game. But again, this is a next door neighbor game. It is an emotional game. A lot of these players know each other, went to high school with each other, played against each other in high school. So it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. And before we transition, I got to give the Big Ten their love. with Ohio State opening up this weekend. And the only reason I want to bring this game up is because it's a Big Ten game. It is rare that you see Power 5 conference teams opening up their season against their rivals in the conference. And this being one of those rare occasions where Ohio State gets an opportunity to display the talents that they have from the very beginning and to prove whether or not they have a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate on their team. Not sure that actually is, but we'll see. I'm just wanting to see whether or not they are worthy of that number 3 ranking that they have. And if Indiana is within 10 points going into the fourth quarter, I got something for Ohio State next week and their fans. Preferably one of our brothers.
Hey man, let's go ahead. Hey, don't want to get away from college, but let's go ahead and shift gears right fast and move on to the talk about what we consider to be the 4 top conferences in the NFL. Again, every week we're gonna be going a little doing deep dives, but this week we want to talk about 4 different conferences this week. And the first conference we want to talk about is the AFC North. Go ahead, Jordan, and bring that up. So in our talks and what we was talking about, some hot topics. I think, again, when you want to start talking about what we call it, the blue collar division in the AFC, one of the toughest ones, I think, is this one right here. And
this is the true black and blue division right here.
I mean, heads gonna get bust. But the 2 storylines that I see within this one that I'm looking interested in see, one is how the Bengals offensive line is gonna hold. If the Bengals offensive line hold up, man, I see the Bengals being, and I know I got some Kansas City Chiefs fans on here and they're gonna be upset, but I just see the Bengals probably representing the AFC in the Super Bowl next year if the offensive line and Joe Burrow stay healthy. But across the conference, a strong conference, but it's gonna be the quarterback play that's really gonna truly determine how good this conference is going to be. I can see at least maybe 2 teams out of AFC North being in the playoffs, Drew.
Yo, you said that with your whole chest. Episode 1, you already got the Bengals in the Super Bowl?
Hey, man.
Hey, mark that down. I'm going to remember that. Anyways, the black and blue division. What I consider to be the best division in the NFL this year. The Cincinnati Bengals, the Baltimore Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Cleveland Browns. I can legitimately sit here and say, as we head into opening weekend, any one of these 4 teams can win the division. Any one of these 4 teams, depending on health and injuries, can win the division, even with all 4 teams healthy, because this division is that close. This division is that packed with not only good coaching, but phenomenal play at the quarterback position for several of these teams. Let us begin with the defending division champs, the Cincinnati Bengals. The LSU Bengals, or Cincinnati Tigers, or whatever they're called today. But you have a quarterback in Joe Burrow, who I believe is the second best quarterback in the NFL, right behind Patrick Mahomes. I don't want to hear about anybody else right now. I don't care. Joe Burrow has shown in the 2 years that he has started NFL games that he has taken his team to. 1, the Super Bowl in the first year. Should have won that game if it wasn't for a trash offensive line that, he was running for his life that entire game and that entire playoffs. And then followed that up with another deep playoff run, going up against the eventual Super Bowl champs and the Kansas City Chiefs, and they should have won that game if not for a boneheaded personal foul penalty at the end of the game. But it's neither here nor there. They are going to have another strong season. You are definitely correct, Griff, that Cincinnati, if healthy, is the cream of the crop, I believe, in the AFC North. But right on their coattails are those Baltimore Ravens. Lamar actually has a legitimate number 1 receiver, OBJ, now. Man, I cannot wait to see them link up once they get started. And I pray both of them stay healthy. Because if they stay healthy, Baltimore is going to be a problem for a whole lot of people. And you are correct. I believe Baltimore is going to be in the playoffs as well. I just believe that head-to-head, Cincinnati is going to have a better division record. And if Deshaun is Deshaun again, bruh, Cleveland has a top 3 run game. And Deshaun being Deshaun, come on. And Mike Tomlin don't never lose. So what do we do?
You got that, you got that, man. And Deshaun also got Cooper up there. That's the silent killer that can't nobody check. Say what they want. Look at his numbers, and we really miss him with Dallas. Okay, we're gonna keep the train moving because I don't want Jordan to beat me up. Let's go to the AFC East. I'll let you go ahead and start that one out.
Oh, the AFC East, the second best division in the National Football League this year, and the most intriguing division in the National Football League this year, simply because of the addition of some 39-year-old dude, right? Some geriatric dude come in, everybody get their stuff in a bunch, and they get, oh my god. But no, you have the most physically talented quarterback in the history of the National Football League joining this division in Aaron Rodgers, Ron, the double check guy, who still has the deed to the Chicago Bears, joining the division. Does that make a huge difference? Yes, it does make a huge difference because the Jets were already a legitimate playoff contender last year. They just did not have the quarterback play to get them to the playoffs for a variety of reasons, inexperience, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
With Aaron Rodgers' trade to the Jets and the way that he has embraced his new role as the leader of this team, the sacrifices he has made that he has not been willing to make historically for Green Bay in the past 4 or 5 years, it bodes well for them going into the season, right? Because you have an offense that is stacked. You have a top 10 receiver in Garrett Wilson. You have other weapons. You have a solid defense. So I look for the Jets to make that noise.
Look at the running backs too. You got to look at the running back room.
Oh yeah. Ooh, I forgot who they signed this. I don't know how I forgot they signed. Oh my good, Dalvin Cook. Wow, brother, Jets gonna be a problem. In our discussion last night, I mentioned who I was leaning towards, and I was pretty sure in my answer, and I was surprised with the team you picked, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. But the Jets, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? I don't know.
Again, we got plenty of the rest of the season to talk about, but you know what I told you? I see the Jets, the Bills, like you can't take nothing from the Bills. The Bills basically own this division. But I also think, and people gonna say it because I'm an Alabama guy, Tua. Miami gonna either go or fly with, they either gonna go down or they gonna go with Tua. If Tua stay healthy, he not already. People can say what they want to. Go look at the kids' numbers. When he healthy, Miami is okay. They already got a good defense. They got the two of the best receivers in the game. Can't nobody check me. It's like watching a Sonic Hedgehog game. You got Waddle over there wilding and stuff. Man, it's gonna be awesome, man. So I'm just looking forward to. We ain't gonna talk about the Patriots because the Patriots is like they don't know what they want to do. They're in the rebuild season. They just got rid of all their quarterbacks. They still just got Mac Jones and Bill O'Brien's their offense coordinator. So enough said. But for the sake of time, we're gonna leave it. We're gonna table that if that's okay with you, and move on to the NFC West. So
okay, yeah, that's good. And I just have to let the audience know the dead space after you speak is me trying to get back to the mouse there because I mute myself every now and then, so I have to get back and unmute myself. But yeah, you're right. And when we actually pick these division winners, I want you to provide context, right? Okay. It is not just, hey, this is why I think this team is going to win the division.
Yeah.
30-second context, because this division is going to be these two that we just talked about are going to be the two toughest to pick. But you mentioned the AFC West.
NFC
West?
NFC West. We had NFC West, and NFC East tonight. We'll do the other ones next week.
Okay. All right. NFC West. That it's to me it's going to be a repeat of the 2022 NFC West, where you have a very, very, very strong San Francisco 49ers team leading into the season off of the heels of their NFC Championship game appearance. They have the same cast of characters back. They are relatively healthy. You already know that Shanahan's scheme is one of the best in the NFL. So the offensive game plan with MCM and coming out of the backfield and Debo and the rest of those receivers being utilized, you can't beat that. So they're going to win that division, in my opinion. You're still going to have a strong Seattle team. Pete Carroll is going to present a team that is going to be legitimate, and they are going to compete. They're going to press San Francisco, but they're going to be a playoff team, I think. They're going to be better than they were last year. I do believe that Los Angeles and Arizona are in rebuild mode. They're going to break those teams up by the middle of the year, I believe. A lot of key players off of those teams, a lot of big name contract players are going to be traded off of both of those teams, and they're going to rebuild in the next couple of years. So don't be surprised if either Stafford and or Murray is gone by the end of this year. Not because of performance, but because of forward thinking for those two teams. But NFC West, San Francisco, and Seattle will be competing.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, but right before we came on, man, Cooper Kupp got hurt again, so he might not be. He done hurt his hamstring, so he might not be starting the season. So yeah, that definitely set them back big time with the Rams. Let's move on to the NFC East. Hey, everybody know I'm an Alabama fan, but they also know I'm an America's team fan as well. But for me, this is the year that Dak and Mike is put up or shut up this year. I mean, honestly, we got the defense. The defense, in my eyes, is probably one of in the top 5 defenses in the league, if not the top one. But it's all about we can't blame last year. We can't blame our offensive coordinator no more. Zeke, we can't because we got rid of him. He out there with the Chargers right now, so we can't blame him. We got the receiving core. I think we're bringing Brandon Cooks in there. You got CeeDee Lamb, and then Michael Gallup is good. I'm liking what I see with Deuce. I'm liking what I see with Pollard. I would love, and you talked about this earlier, would love, to get Taylor, but that's a whole nother story. We'll be talking about the coach next week. But that's what I would like to see. But coming out of this division, man, just like last year, it's a possibility, depending on how things go. All three teams could be playing in the playoffs. Just like the Eagles. I don't see no dropping down from the Eagles. Eagles to win. They got rid of a few people, but the defense is still solid. The offense is built around Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts don't make that many mistakes. They definitely didn't lose the Super Bowl because of Jalen Hurts. He went toe-to-toe with the best quarterback in the game, and again, it came down to the end. So coming out of this division for me, I just see definitely Dallas and Eagles as the top 2 teams. I won't even mention the team that don't know what their name want to be because they keep on changing. Now they talking about reverting back to their old name. We'll see. I don't even like. We're gonna call that Alabama North. That's what we're gonna call it because they whole defense is Alabama. I don't want to talk about them, but I'm gonna turn it over to you, Drew. One of my guys called.
Man, this is an interesting division to me. It is definitely one of the better divisions in the NFL because there are so many storylines here. First, let me begin with the defending NFC champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. They are definitely coming back a little less prepared than they were going into the Super Bowl. You've lost the offensive coordinator, went out and got another job. You've lost the defensive coordinator, went out and got another job. You've lost key players because of contracts and getting that bag elsewhere. But you have the core still intact. You still have Jalen Hurts, who is now a top-paid quarterback, deservedly so. Record-breaking contract when he signed, now making $50+ million a year, which is what the market dictates, and he needs to be one of the highest-paid quarterbacks. So I definitely applaud him for securing that contract. And he is one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, based on last year's performance.
Mm-hmm.
But he has to do it again. And I believe Philadelphia is going to be right there in the end, competing for a division title against your Dallas Cowboys. You are correct that I don't believe that Dak is going to have the type of year this year that he had last year. It was just an off year for him, just like it was an off year for Aaron Rodgers last year. Even though Aaron Rodgers was dealing with that thumb injury, Dak was dealing with his own injuries. So all of that went into play. I'm not saying that was an excuse for the 15.
No, I appreciate.
I'm just saying it contributed. Now
I tell people this. Let me say this right fast. Because really, when people talk about Dak year last year, and I'm y'all know I'm passionate about that. But go back and look and see how many balls hit receivers' hands and winning the other people. Everybody want to count, man. We don't talk about the interceptions that other quarterbacks and throw. We blame the receiver when it bounced out of their hand, but because Dak on America's team, he get hit up for it. But the numbers still, they speak for themselves. That's all I'm gonna say. So you believe?
All right. Well, Anthony believes that the division is going to be a repeat by the Eagles. Well, we all know the NFC hasn't had a repeat division champion in almost 20 years. So, do we believe the Eagles have it this year? I don't know. I'm going to go out and tell you right now, I don't believe that they have what it takes to be repeat champs. They're definitely going to be in the playoffs. They're definitely going to be a formidable team. They're not going to slide in. But I do believe, if healthy, I don't know why, I just have a gut feeling based on how this roster has played out that Jerry Jones has put together. Dallas has what it takes to win this division. And Dak having a Dak-like season, the Dallas Cowboys will dethrone Philadelphia this year. 12-5 record for Dallas, maybe 12-5 record for the Eagles, just a better division record. It's going to be nip and tuck all year if no key players get injured between these two teams. So look for a real competitive race between the Cowboys and Eagles this year. Whether or not I believe the Giants can repeat and make it back to the playoffs, I don't think they have it in them for 2 consecutive years, because I don't believe in Daniel Jones like many people believe in Daniel Jones. It was Saquon carrying that team last year, and Daniel Jones literally had 3 games where he threw for 200 yards, and all 3 were against. 2 of them were against Minnesota. And the third was against Detroit early on in the season or someone like that. So I am not a believer of Daniel Jones, even though Dabo is a good head coach. So I don't think New York makes it.
Look,
Washington Commanders, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whether or not your offensive coordinator of the decade is going to be able to come in and actually make some things happen. I don't know. I don't believe in the head coach.
Yeah.
I got it. Ron Rivera was good at motivating teams at a time, but I think he's completely lost control of this team. The new ownership don't want to hear all of that mumbo jumbo back talk that you've been doing over the past month. He's out after this season if they don't make the playoffs, because with new ownership comes changes, and we already know paying $6 billion for a team, you want some chips, right? And the Redskins are used to winning; they're a winning organization, and they want to get back to that after 20 years of Dan Snyder's shenanigans.
Hey, so look, Drew, check this out, man. We got 10 minutes left. So let's go ahead and make some bold predictions for the college playoff. Who gonna be in the college playoff championship? Who gonna win that? And then who we see as our NFL division, win a conference and win the divisions or whatever. And then we're gonna, these are just bold predictions right now. And then we're gonna talk about this throughout the rest of the season. But if you don't mind, you want to go. Matter of fact, I'm gonna let you go first. I'm gonna let you go ahead and go first and see if if they match. So let's talk.
Praise hell. All righty then. So we're talking NFL or we talking NCAA?
Let's go back to NCAA first.
All righty. Now, everything that I'm about to say is based on all key players for all of these teams staying healthy. All right. And these games that we know are big games and key games in each one of these conferences, they have to play each other. All right. So there is going to be no excuse for a team not having a strong schedule or a team having a weak schedule. Those who make this Final Four, and this year is just 4 teams, I believe are going to withstand the test of the 2023 season. So starting off, I will say that the first team into the college playoffs will be the Georgia Bulldogs, the defending two-time defending NCAA champs. Their schedule is favorable enough to where they will survive the SEC East, make it to the SEC championship game, and they will face the winner out of, I believe, LSU and Alabama on the first Saturday in November. Whoever wins that game will win the SEC West, and it is going to be.
Man, give me your picks, man. Bless you. Give me your picks, man.
It's going to be the Tigers of LSU. So LSU plays Georgia in the SEC championship. Georgia wins that SEC championship, goes on to the college football playoff. Michigan loses to Ohio State in the final game of the season. Ohio State wins the Big 12 or the Big 10 championship. They make it to the playoff. Florida State loses to LSU in the season opener, but still wins the ACC, and they make it to the playoff. And the last team that makes it to the playoff as a at-large bid will be that one-loss SEC LSU Tiger team, losing only to Georgia in the SEC championship, going to the playoffs. And here it is. Here's the cherry on top. They will beat Ohio State in the semifinal. Georgia will beat Florida State in the semifinal. LSU, Georgia in the national championship. And guess who comes out on top?
Man, put that ball down.
That is my pick for the 2023 season.
You better put that ball down.
Like that?
You better put that ball down. Look, man. Hey, hey, for the sake of time, I ain't gonna do a whole bunch. I'm just gonna tell you this: the 4 teams that I picked, we basically almost there, with the exception. I got Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Florida State. Those are the teams that I see in the playoffs, and I do see again Georgia and Alabama gonna be the ones that's playing in the national championship game, and you already know how I'm rolling. And the only reason why, because right now Alabama is. People that forgot about it. I love it. I love what we position that in the rankings because the focus is
dude. Being the 4th ranked team is not being forgotten about.
No,
being the 4th ranked.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. When you have the record that Alabama had, they normally starting off in the 1 or number 2 position. Being down in that position because everybody worrying about Alabama don't have a quarterback. Man, this ain't the first year that Nick Saban started the season where he ain't had a starting quarterback. He'd had pretty a lot of seasons like that. But I'm letting it go because I don't want, again, Jordan to beat me up. But that's my bold prediction. It's subject to change throughout the season. But right now, as we sit here and speak right now, I see Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Florida State in the playoffs, with Alabama actually winning the national championship. So let's go ahead, since we got about 7 minutes, man. Let's move on to bold predictions for the NFC playoffs, as well as who's gonna be in the Super Bowl. Okay, so I'll go if you don't mind me.
By all means, brother, go with it.
Okay, so what I had was mute your mic, man. I had AFC East. I had the Buffalo Bills winning the East. I had the Cincinnati Bengals winning the North. Jacksonville winning AFC South, and Kansas City winning the West. Miami, Baltimore, and the Jets gonna be wild cards. But I see Cincinnati coming out the AFC. I know my brother Miles is on here and he ain't gonna like that, but it is what it is. That's just what I see. In the NFC, I got the Cowboys, Minnesota, and I told you I'm gonna stick with it. Carolina, because that conference is garbage. Anybody, I mean, it's gonna be a losing team that's gonna represent that group. And then San Francisco coming from the West, and I see the Eagles and Seahawks. But again, I already told you what I seen in the Super Bowl, and I see the Cowboys and Cincinnati in the Super Bowl, and the American team is gonna be back on top, baby. I give it to you, Drew.
I almost left myself on mute simply because that was straight garbage. Although you do have a couple of teams in there that I do agree with. I'll start off in the AFC. AFC West repeat champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. You are correct in that. The AFC North, I did say that the Cincinnati Bengals were going to squeak that out, so I'm sticking with that pick. The AFC East is where we split. You said the Buffalo Bills. If everybody stays healthy and there are no key injuries to no players, I'm going down with the 305. I think that Tua has what it takes with that passing game and their running game to really, 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 really grab a hold of that division. And I think the Jets are going to be the second best team in that division, making Buffalo the third best team in that division. So now, and the AFC South, the Jaguars, you are correct. The NFC, like I said with the NFC East, Dallas will dethrone Philadelphia, even though they'll be very, very close together. San Francisco is going to win the West. I do believe that Detroit, the Detroit Lions is going to win the NFC North. And of course, the Who Dat Nation is going to grab hold of the NFC South, and we're going to run away with it. Not only a losing record, man, slap yourself for that. How disrespectful can you be? A losing record. This is not 2022, partner. We coming. All right. I don't know much about Derek Carr, but we coming. We coming. We looking at 10-7, possibly 11-6, being a 4 seed in the playoffs. So the wild card teams will be the Philadelphia Eagles, I believe, the Minnesota Vikings, as well as the Seattle Seahawks for the NFC. And NFC Championship game, San Francisco against Dallas, both teams equal. I believe Dallas will make it to the Super Bowl after 26 years. I do believe 27 years. It was 1995 last time they made it. 70% of the players that are in the NFL today, 70% of the players that are in the NFL today weren't even born the last time Dallas made it. But, and I agree with you that Cincinnati will be the AFC's representative, beating Kansas City in a championship in Kansas City, by the way, this year. And a very close Super Bowl, very tight, and it'll be one of those last-minute drives by Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase or T. Higgins or Joe Mixon, gutting the Dallas defense, and Cincinnati will get their first ever Super Bowl.
You lucky we don't have no more time. We gonna carry this over the next week, man. But I just say, Drew, man, I appreciate you having me here. I appreciate all those people that chimed in tonight. A lot of comments. In the future, trust and believe we're gonna be chatting to y'all. But I thank y'all for watching us tonight. Drew, I turn it over to you, man, to close it out.
My brother, I tell you, thank you for joining myself and Jordan on this journey. We are going to have a phenomenal year. I am looking forward to engaging not only with you, Griff, and Jordan, but the entire RoundTable crew as we're going to label ourselves throughout this season. And as we mentioned in the opening, engage throughout the show by submitting your comments, commentary, opinions, questions, concerns, or just what you know to be fact. And they'll be discussed in real time, or we can have, as you say, a history lesson. But looking forward to this ride. Thank you for joining us on this inaugural episode Every Tuesday and Friday night, we are coming to you live on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Follow us and subscribe to us on all of your streaming platforms. We're on our tagline on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok is The RoundTable, all one word, _ podcast. The RoundTable, the RoundTable _ podcast. So you can find us on all of the social media platforms under that tagline, and follow us and subscribe. And we look forward to engaging with you throughout this upcoming season. Thank you for joining us on this inaugural episode. Welcome to the RoundTable.
What's cracking, sports fans? Welcome to the ultimate pigskin paradise, where we dive deep into the heart-pounding action of NCAA and NFL football. I'm Drew of the RoundTable podcast, and we've got an electrifying season lined up for you all that's sure to fuel your football frenzy. Whether you bleed the colors of your favorite college team or you're a diehard NFL fanatic, this podcast is your touchdown destination for all things football. From the nail-biting rivalries under those college football stadium lights to the awe-inspiring Sunday showdowns on the NFL gridiron, we're here to break down the plays, analyze the strategies, and give you a front-row seat to the action. We'll be diving into the passion, the heart, and the soul of the game. Football isn't just a sport, and we're here to capture every pulse-pounding moment. Tune into the RoundTable with Drew and Garrett every Tuesday and Friday evening